Welcome back for another episode of Community Connections. Just trying to come together as a global community and bring you together as a global community and really show that no matter where you are in the world, no matter what lifestyle you lead or what circumstances you're under, we're all dealing with this, really affected by this and dealing with this in our own ways. And that really, it's really surprising a lot how similar our circumstances are and similar the coping mechanisms are, and that we all really are dealing with this very similar circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
So today I have the pleasure of talking with Madi Musson. She's a licensed board certified art therapist and family therapist and EMDR technician. So she'll have a lot to share with us today, a lot of insights, and I really value her insights. And she's also a mother of a 13-year-old and working from home and working through those challenges as well. So thank you again, Madi, for joining us today. And tell us a little bit about you, about your circumstances at home, and how you're kind of working through this time of challenge.
For sure. Thanks, Kevin. So like Kevin was saying, I am a therapist and I specialize in working with trauma and loss and grief. And something that we've had to do really pretty abruptly in my household is adjust to multiple people sharing a very small space. And so one of the things that I chose to do was create an attic office, which is where I'm talking to you all from, which actually has a lock on the door with a code, because then it's just my space.
Right.
And that's something that we all felt was really important, especially because I have a teenager. It's really important for each of us to have our own space. And I think that we are at a place where we're all really navigating what boundaries, what space looks like in a little bit of a different way than we're used to. Even for people like me who are extroverts, I think that this is really an opportunity where we can lean into the discomfort of being in this situation and look at what is bringing up for us instead of just being in that fear place, shutting down about it, pushing it away. And so that's something that I think everyone in my household's really been trying to do is look at what do I need to put through. Case, it's how do I stay connected and stay social with people as an extrovert when I live with introverted people. And so it's been very fun to kind of get to know my family on a different level, and to get to know myself on a different level.
And that's great. I really like that perspective. I like that perspective of just really understanding the needs of each individual in the household. And supporting them in that and learning how to support yourself. I love that. I think that is so crucial. I talk a lot about that in everything that I talk about is understanding what you need and then understanding and then allowing each person, each individual, especially in your household, to express what their needs are as well and support them in their needs.
Yeah.
So that's great. I love that you're doing that. You have that perspective. So thank you for sharing that.
For sure.
Great. So what are you doing personally to keep yourself as an extrovert in these introvert times and to keep you healthy and well and sane?
So conveniently, one of the strategies that I really like to use for myself is moving my body. I'm a huge ABBA fan, and so I will actually use my kettlebell or do yoga and listen to ABBA up here in the attic.
Awesome.
I don't know how my family feels about that, but I try to make sure every day I'm moving my body. I'm making sure, because I carry so much in the work that I do with people, that I'm meditating and checking in with my body. Also, because I'm a creator, have to make art every day, I've noticed. If I'm not making art or I'm not doing like a daily check-in with myself creatively, I think I'm missing part of what's going on in my head. And so something that I've encouraged people to do, and that I'm doing myself, is I'm actually journaling. And so I made my own COVID-19 pandemic journal. And inside of there, I try every day to look at what is the main message I've learned or what is the thing coming up for me. And so I'll actually show you one of my pages.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough that I was invited to get to be on a global call with some of the leaders in EMDR. And Ana Gomez was speaking about how we are stronger together. And she gave this really beautiful analogy of the Tabanuga tree and how it weathers through all of these storms. The point is that we are stronger together like those trees because they survive by connecting their roots together. And so something that I did was on that day, I made my own trees. And so one of the things that I really think has brought me closer to my kiddo is we co-create in the same space. And so it's been this really great way of checking in with my family, checking in specifically with my kiddo, and just existing in the ways that feel kind of recharging for me. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I love, there's, you know, again, multiple things I love that you just said there. But I really like the aspect of journaling, you know, and taking that opportunity now that if you haven't been journaling, or if you wanted to journal, you have an opportunity now. Especially if you're, you know, if you're not working or you're not able to work, you have some opportunities now to do some of those things that you've been meaning to catch up on. And I do love that aspect of that expression of what you're learning. So expressing in ways that you feel most creative and most comfortable expressing those things. So expressing your inspiration through drawing, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to use the materials that speak to you. So like for me, paint and drawing are like the ways I like to do that. I love collage too. One of my things as an art therapist that I really learned was just how those different materials work with different pieces of our brain. And so you're actually helping your brain process based on what needs in that moment when you're choosing whatever materials you're drawn to. So like my best friend, Kelsey, loves to do embroidery. I would get a lot of knots in the string. I love to do embroidery, but logistically, that is not the medium I prefer. So I think giving yourself permission to try something new is really important right now, because that's really kind of at the core of what everybody's doing.
Yeah, and doing what comes natural. Doing what comes natural to you without a lot of learning, without a big learning curve, without having to, you know, go through all this procedure to figure out how to do it. Just in these times of stress, in these times of uncertainty, and when you have all of these other stressors, try not to make your creative time something stressful. And really be something that is just a release, something that comes very natural.
It's all about the process. It's not at all about what you're creating. It can be meaningful, but it's not at all something that has to be the next masterpiece. So
right. Wonderful. Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for those insights. How's your daughter doing through all this? I mean, you said she's 13.
Yeah, she I think is doing better than before, actually. So we're adopting. And so one of the things we've really had some pretty great transparent conversations about as a family is just how we are all, as a human species, kind of in that overactivated brain space. And so we're all doing what we know to survive. And so for me, what that looks like is being a helper. What that looks like for other people is coming at it from a fear place, coming at it from a shutdown place, coming at it from a guarded or I don't trust people place. And so I'm really proud of her because she's chosen to kind of lean into that more and is like, instead of pushing people away, I'm going to really draw towards the people that I care about right now.
That's awesome. I really like that. I think I like that aspect. And it really is. It's surprising how adaptable even teenagers, we think of teenagers as hard-headed and as obstinate a lot of times, and sometimes they are. Don't get me wrong, sometimes they are. Just in perspective of our own minds, what we would like them to be. But yeah, just if with good communication, if you really communicate with a teenager and you've had that established trust and established communication, it really is surprising how well the lights will kind of turn on. Like my son is 16, and he's really, he had just this last year made a bunch of friends. He's been really outgoing and all over the place all the time. And he's, I can tell he's really struggling trying to stay at home, having to stay at home.
Yeah.
He's gaming with his buddies and all of that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's being connected that way, but it's hard. It's hard. And so just that communication and that understanding of their circumstances and who they are as people, I think is really important. So that's great. I'm glad she's going to do it.
With that too, I know you and I had been speaking a little bit before we started taping that I think really giving space for those experiences, especially if we're taking care of kiddos, especially if we're helping our parents, our grandparents, the aging population right now, give room to honor the losses and the change. That's something that in loss and grief world, we talk about that a lot, but I think that this is one of those examples of losses that maybe aren't necessarily deaths, but they are changes. And I think those can be just as hard for people to really figure out what it means for them. And so Worden talks about that in modern loss and grief theory, that we're adjusting, we're adapting, we're figuring out how to stay connected to the things that matter, and we move forward. And those are, I think, like the 4 tenets of shifting through loss that really are important right now for people to think about, because it looks different. But for a lot of people, this is really their first big loss. And I think that it's okay for our teens, especially, to have this space to process that and think about that, because they are capable of that. So are kids. But we need to help them understand how to navigate that.
Right. That is so important. It's so important, to leave room to allow yourself to go through all the steps of the process, and understand that potentially grieving is a part of the process. Grieving that loss of the freedom that you had, or uncertainty for your business, if you're a business owner, or not knowing what the future brings, that certainty is a loss.
Yeah.
So thank you for that perspective. I appreciate that. Absolutely. So you are a mental health provider. You are very much on the front lines there with people, and I know there's a couple support. When we think about healthcare providing, especially right now, we think about the ERs, we think about the hospitals and the adjustments that they're making. But we do also have kind of these support aspects that are helping people stay well enough to not have to go see a general provider or things like that. We have your mental health workers, we have your chiropractors, and some other people, other support pieces like that are still accessible for those situations. And so how, as a therapist, I know we talked a little bit before we got going here, how you as a therapist are supporting other therapists in this transition, because for you, it's been, you are somewhat technology savvy, at least you're familiar with technology, and you're extroverted, and so you're able to really meet the situation. So how are you supporting other providers right now that maybe aren't? How are other providers struggling to make the transition?
Absolutely. One of the things that I think is one of my strengths is I've always been a connector. So even when I was a little kid, I was known as like the person who just invited the whole kindergarten class to her birthday party.
Yes.
Because I didn't want anyone to be left out. And I think as a provider right now, who knew how to do telehealth, who was offering those services prior to the incident occurring, I had that strength and power of knowing what I was doing, which is fortunate. But what I've really tried to do is with my team at EMDR and beyond, with my fellow colleagues here in Iowa, with the online platforms of other therapists that I'm connected to, what I chose to do was actually offer all of my materials on using telehealth with EMDR for free. I gave my consents out to people. I helped people get set up on their platforms. With the team that I am involved with here at EMDR and beyond, what I did was make sure everybody had a transition plan for their clients. I made sure they knew how to implement the platforms that we use. I tried to help find other resources for people, and that's something I'm still really passionate about in doing. And then I got to be a part of the Global Alliance of EMDR Therapists, who are offering free trainings for clinicians currently,
Awesome.
just to make sure we have as many people as ready as we can be, just to help the people that are like, I don't know what to do right now. Maybe
Right.
that's new clients who have never utilized mental health care before. Maybe that's previous clients who are like, yo, I need to check in. Things have
Yeah.
happened. And
Absolutely.
I'm really grateful that most of my clients were really comfortable making that transition, because it showed a case of what it's like when your clients have the trust with you as a clinician to make that jump. And so part of what I'm trying to help normalize for my friends and colleagues is just, this is going to look unique for each person, including each therapist. And so it's okay for us to really think about, do I want to work full time? Is it practical for me to keep my physical office space? Is it not practical for me to keep my physical office space? Do I really hate doing telehealth? If so, as soon as I can get my butt back in that office, I'm going to do it.
Right.
But I think really just being present and engaged in those online platforms for me has helped me to know that I'm doing what I can to give back to myself, to others that I care about. Something else that I started doing, and I think you've probably seen it actually, Kevin, is on Mondays, I offer a free community Q&A for mental health on my Creatively Thriving LLC page on Facebook. And I actually had some friends in Seattle, because that's where I got my master's, share it out there. So we'll see what happens next week. But similarly to what you were talking about earlier, I think this is a really cool opportunity to have different parts of the world come together and be able to say, this is where we're at, this is what's working and what not working, and just to offer what you have in a way that's manageable for you.
That's great. No, that's
Yeah.
awesome, and thank you for being on the front line of the front line. So I think that's great, and helping other providers. And I will share Maddie's Facebook page, Facebook link, and because I'm all about making sure that you have all the resources that you can have and that you need to get through this challenging time. So we'll be sharing some of those things that Maddie's offering.
Mhm.
And Maddie as well. When we post this live, feel free to jump in, leave other comments, and share what it is that you have available. So
Yeah.
definitely love that perspective for the community.
Good.
So on that topic of telehealth,
Mm-hmm.
how do you see this? I'm thinking of I have this attitude of living forward and seeing the future,
Yeah.
and moving toward it instead of trying to push the future away.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you see? How do you see telehealth changing as a result of this push toward it?
Yeah, I think I have hope that this will make the insurance companies in particular actually make sure they cover services. We've done
Oh,
a
wow.
lot of advocacy here in Iowa to make sure that all services are fully covered for our clients.
Okay.
Because it wasn't something covered in people's plans before. And I think a lot of clients were really surprised about that. But I think it's going to open up a world of choice. And I think that that's going to really allow providers and clients to both think about, how can I best serve the people that I'm working with? In my case, it's actually helping me stay caught up on my case notes faster. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Just because it looks logistically a little bit different. And I think, especially with like kids, that best practice is still going to be working in person when we
Okay.
can. But I think that it's okay to look at the developmental piece, to look at that neuropsychology piece of, how do we best meet each client's needs? Is this a client that would benefit from in person? Is this a person that would benefit from telehealth? I think a lot more people are going to be receptive to it. And I think we're all as a society probably going to really shift the jobs that need to be in person and the things that need to be online. And I think that that's pretty cool. I've had some
Yeah.
really great sessions with people online already where we've done full EMDR processing, and they've
Wow.
been able to work through some pretty intense stuff just because that's where they were at and they had the resources and the supports in place where that was appropriate.
Do you feel like for people, especially going through something as intensive as EMDR, and I know not everybody knows what EMDR is. So if you don't know what EMDR is, definitely look it up. It's a really powerful tool that
Yep.
therapists are using right now. And so how do you feel that, doing EMDR, and I thought about that too, that I've known some people going through EMDR and doing EMDR remotely like this through telehealth. How do you feel that maybe they're being in their own home, being in a place of comfort, do you feel like that affects their EMDR?
Yeah, so it's this really unique situation of homes can be a really safe place and homes can be a really scary place, depending on what their stuff is. And so I think the people that are safe in their homes, I've seen it being like exactly what you were saying, an additional calm, secure place where they can utilize that as a support and use that as a way to feel more comfortable and grounded. Some of my younger clients, it's been really fun. I've gotten to meet a lot of pets this week. I've gotten to see a lot of favorite things and a lot of calming, safe places in their home. And I think that as clinicians, like that's a really intimate and beautiful way of understanding our clients better. And they're all getting a kick out of meeting my dogs as well. So, because I let my dogs guest star. I do think, and I spoke a little bit about this with my team, and there should be a statement coming out on our website actually, that best practice really is just making sure your client is safe when you're doing the work. Yeah. So being safe, having a safety plan in place, and knowing kind of for your client, what's that experience like of being somewhere different?
Right.
Oh, I think we're glitching out, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, and what's that?
There we go.
So, but, yeah, we are getting a little bit of a hang up there. So apologize if it's been a little choppy. We're all dealing with technology, getting the best we can, different Wi-Fi connections and everything. So go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, the summary of what I said was know your client, know yourself. For some people, home is safe. And as long as you're having those resources and supports in place and have a good safety plan, I think it's ethical for us to keep doing good work. So
perfect. Yeah. And I like what you said about how it really is personalizing the experience for not only your clients but also for the therapist. And getting to know their clients in a very personal way.
Yeah.
And also comfortable with that. So everybody's going to have different levels of comfort on that. And so to be in this moving forward. And I did like the fact that you did bring up, and I didn't realize that telehealth, as far as mental health therapy, wasn't something that was covered under insurance.
Yeah.
And so definitely this will be a wake-up call for the insurance companies to open up that wing a little bit on them that way, to allow for that freedom of choice and freedom of flexibility, which is really kind of the big fight in the healthcare industry is freedom of choice and flexibility. And so our insurance providers, our insurance companies need to account for that as well. So that's great. And hold them accountable, right?
For sure.
Good. So on that aspect, again, we'll kind of continue on the telehealth piece for the folks that are needing help out there that of traumatic and anxiety is really creeping up, but they're maybe a little uncertain about telehealth. What are some things that you can tell them how they can kind of what resources can they look into, and how can they feel a little more comfortable thinking about that aspect of telehealth?
Yeah. So the cool thing when you're an EMDR trained clinician is you can actually EMDR the fear of telehealth or the uncomfortability of telehealth. You can target literally any brain pattern in the brain, which is cool. But normalizing that this feels weird, normalizing this is different is okay too. And so one of the things that I really like to do, I really like to just say, hey, this is different. I get that it might not be your cup of tea. What can we do to help you get to a place where it feels more comfortable? And for some clients, what that looks like is just talking. So I do my talk-based interventions, CBT, DBT, mindfulness, strength-centered counseling. and we work our way up just like we do in the therapy room.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, so I think that's the thing is to understand that your practitioner, you know, they're all trained to meet you where you're at.
Yeah.
And so that that nervousness and that apprehension, I think, can help with that. So awesome. Well, thank you very much for those insights on telehealth and on your practice there. I want to close. I have an aspect of what I'm working with here, and what I like to teach myself is this aspect of living forward. So I have a few questions I'm going to ask everybody that I'm interviewing here, just to compile some answers on these questions and see how everybody is approaching it. And again, I'm always not necessarily surprised, but I'm always amazed at just how similar, but that the answers tend to be, but just in different language. Whether, you know, just in different language, a different expression. So, so the first question is, how are you using this time of uncertainty as an opportunity to learn and grow?
Yeah, I think I am personally trying to educate myself, to create more, to connect more, and to give back more. I think it's a time where I'm recognizing I have a lot of gratitude for the things that are going okay in my life right now. So
good. I love that. I love that aspect of gratitude. And I've heard that before too, is that taking this time to really everything to so the second question is, what do you see for yourself after all of this is over?
Yeah, I think we'll see where I'm at then. I think I see this being an opportunity to really use my voice more and to advocate more for whatever fits me where I'm at then. I think I like seeing people in person, but I think I'm going to offer more telehealth probably too. So, there we go. Maybe glitch out a little. There we go.
Are we connecting there?
Yes, I hear you. Sorry. I hear you auditorily at least. Oh, now it's just me, I think. Are you still there? Maybe. Let's see if it works. Are you there, Kevin? Oh, I can barely hear you, but I can still hear you. I see myself moving forward based on wherever I'm at then. There we go. Success. Maybe.
Sorry about connection a little bit. So I'm not sure.
Oh, I hear you. Success. I don't know what you did, but so I see myself shifting and moving forward however I can.
Yeah. So I'll start over. I'll ask that. So you see, what do you hope we will learn?
Oh no.
Are we back at it?
Now I see you. It happens. It says your network bandwidth is low, but
yeah, that's what I said. I need to maybe go to the office and do these things.
That's okay.
I think we work through it. Hold on just a second. Let me see. Are you still getting me there?
Yep, I still gotcha.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right, so I'll start over with that last question. So 3, 2, 1. So the last question on that aspect of living forward. So what do you hope we'll learn as a global community through this experience?
Yeah, I really see this being a chance to learn to sit with things. And I really see this as being a chance to make a choice consciously to not just be self-oriented. I think that this is a really great opportunity. A lot of us have talked about to kind of sit with our shadows or sit with the parts that feel uncomfortable. And then also really be intentional about what we keep and what we bring forward with us. And I think that's something I've had really great conversations with my friends, my family, clients about, is just I have hope that this will really help us to prioritize the things that matter. And maybe that looks different than what the world looked like before for some of us.
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. Keeping what we keep and what we move forward with. I think it's important to understand what it is you're carrying forward, and all of those things. So thank you so much, Madi. I've really enjoyed our conversation. I always enjoy our conversations. We don't speak often enough. We don't get together often enough. I mean, hopefully through all this, we'll be even if it's virtual. So we can have a good conversation as we see it here. So
thank you for letting me talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again. Madi will be sharing this on Facebook. And if you're tuning in, if you have any questions for Madi, definitely leave them in the comments with this video. And Madi will get back to you for sure. And I'll make sure that Madi gets your message if she doesn't see it right away. If you have any questions for me, I do a lot of strategy sessions and things like that. And so I work with people kind of on their strategy. I'm not a mental health provider. And so I provide what I call COVID-19 strategy sessions to make sure that you're kind of able to put the pieces together and have a good understanding of how you can move forward. So that's what I'm offering in this time as well. So that's it for COVID connections. Community connections this time, in this time of the COVID-19 crisis. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're faring well through this. And if you're not, remember that there's help, and reach out and tap in, make sure you're tapping into your community support and doing the best that you can. So for now, take good care, and we'll talk again soon.